Michigan State University Interim President Teresa K. Woodruff joins me on MSU Today to elaborate on topics she covers in her September 2023 Spartan Community Letter, which you can read by clicking on the Communications tab at president.msu.edu. And President Woodruff, always appreciate your time, and especially now your steady hand leading us through some trying times.
Well, Russ, thank you for that. And thank you for bringing this voice to our campus community. I think the more we stay connected, the better we are. And you're doing a great job at that.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you. And well, the final numbers are in for our fall semester enrollment. Talk about this strong and diverse entering class, maybe our best ever.
It really is. And I'm so proud of the provost office and everyone across campus for making people feel the belonging that is truly part of what it is to be a Spartan. So we have 10,917 first year and transfer undergraduate students. And that's a really tremendous number of students who are placing their educational goals and aspirations with us at Michigan State. And that's about similar to last year's class, most of them coming from Michigan. And of course, we are, I think, Michigan's state university, and I'm excited for that. But the other part of the story is that we actually have the largest overall official count. Folks may not know this, but we don't actually report numbers until quarter term. And so we are just over the quarter of this semester mark. And, you know, it's been going just incredibly fast and furiously. And so that 51,316 students, our official count, really is the largest group of students on record. And part of it is for our undergraduates that they are persisting in their academic careers. And Russ, that's good news for everyone. And we already have that high 82% graduation rate, but all of our work has been to get to a higher percent of those students completing and reaching their academic aspirations. And this is a good first step along that way.
And when you describe the Arts MSU initiative in your letter, you quote the words of MSU's 14th president, Clifford R. Wharton Jr., who, along with his wife, Dolores, were great advocates for the arts. What did he say? And tell us about the new Arts MSU.
Well, I think the quote that I used in the letter is, any university worthy of being called great needs a rich foundation in the arts. And there's a great line that he used when we were doing when Michigan State was doing the ribbon cutting for the Wharton Center. And he said, you know, I've told you over and over that a university is more than bricks and mortar. And so you named a building after me. And I think that quote is also, you know, tremendous. And many of our community will remember when he and Dolores were here for that. But they really set the university off in an extraordinary way in terms of arts. And so we were really pleased to be able to announce the Arts MSU just earlier this month, so that we can integrate arts into our educational experiences. We can have it part of our research that really drives the way in which we think, and that it's really part of our physical environment. And if we do that, I'm convinced that that's going to be part of this larger sense of belonging for all of us.
And much more at arts.msu.edu. And the latest in MSU Health Sciences' burgeoning relationship with Henry Ford Health, through the generosity of alumni Dan and Jennifer Gilbert, is the Nick Gilbert Neurofibromatosis Research Institute.
Yes, and you know, Dan and Jennifer and their family are just great Spartans and lost their son Nick to neurofibromatosis just this summer. And we are really honored by the fact that they would invest in Michigan State and Henry Ford, their resources to find a cure for neurofibromatosis. And it really is the best way in which we can imagine enabling better health outcomes for many. So in this disease, and of course, many of the other neurological diseases that will be the outcome of this investment. And we're grateful to the Gilberts, and we celebrate with them the life and the legacy of Nick.
And they're such a great example of all of our donors who make this place so great.
You're right, Russ. It's an amazingly giving community.
And it's almost, Teresa, like we're starting to take FRIB for granted. They keep rolling along with another grant, and then the university is faring very well in national rankings.
Mm-hmm, we are. FRIB continues to be a leader for us, and we should always remember how pivotal that is for the university and for the region. The investment in in FRIB. And I think we're announcing the $115 million for our high rigidity spirometry project. But every dollar goes into the way in which we lift up the region economically. And that's really an important part of what we're doing. But you're exactly right. Our rankings rose. Our reach and influence is tremendous, and we're being recognized. And one of the metrics that I really like the most is that Wall Street Journal ranked MSU number 14 among all public universities. Now, that's very close to number 10. I want to get in the top 10. I'm a little competitive, but number 14 is extraordinary. It means that we are the elite public educating universities in the nation. And that measure, of course, would be vacant if it were not matched with the individual student success that we talked about earlier. So I'm really pleased about that, and looking forward to seeing the way in which we're engineering our environment for the success of those whose interests we work.
Spartans will.
Spartans will.
And, in your September 27th Zoom-based conversation with the president, you updated the university community on several topics that illustrate MSU's upward trajectory. And you referenced a half dozen consequential actions taken in an inflection point in the presidency of our 12th president, John Hannah. And I encourage anyone interested in hearing from President Woodruff on MSU's exciting future to find that entire 1-hour presentation on the president's website. But by way of summary, can you talk about those consequential actions and how they're evolving today in what you're calling another inflection point?
I sure can, Russ. And what I did, of course, I've been reading the presidents. I think that our foundation is predicated on consequential decisions over decades of time. So it's not one individual, but it's a series of individuals that lead to the MSU today. But in reading John Hannah's memoir and his time, I lifted out of there kind of a series of things that he did. And I don't know if he would say these were the things he thought about in 1941 and then delivered it by 1969, but this is what I see. And so sometimes the lens of history helps you see things you couldn't. And I did say in my conversation today that sometimes it's hard to see when you're in the middle of that inflection point. And so trying to have people see we really are on an upward trajectory, and to believe it and to know that we own it. So I talked today about infrastructure. I talked about, Hannah had to build a physical modern university. As he moved MAC into the modern day, he realized before anyone else that we needed to be globally connected. And so Michigan State was the first public university to be super connected on the global stage. He knew that we had to extend our reach and reputation. We had to get in the AAU. We had to get in the Big Ten. And so he knew that those alliances were critical. And one of the things that I do for this university is to go to those meetings by being in the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, by being in the National Academy, by being a Guggenheim. It is that group of people who are presidents of all the other universities, because we're in the Big Ten, because we're in the AAU, that is an extender of our reputation. And that's really critical. He talked about investing in nuclear science, or I don't know if he talked about it, but that's the consequence of what they did. And of course, we talked about FRIB earlier, and I use that as a frame for thinking about all the innovative way we invest in the best, right? So there are really great things that we do, and we have to double down on those things that are best. We need to invest further in physics. And that is because we're best in that area, and that's the way to rise. And then in his day, he was talking about new general studies courses. And I use this opportunity to talk about the way we create belonging, not just inside the classroom, but outside the classroom, through the arts, through advising, and through athletics. And the athletics being both varsity sports as well as club and others like our health and wellness group. And then he also established a medical school. And so I talked a little bit about our Henry Ford work. And so those were what I thought spurred the inflection point for the university in the 20th century. And the argument I make in my address this morning is that we're at an inflection point for the upward trajectory of the 21st century. But we all have to be in. We all have to be part of that progress. And so there was a call to action today, too. To not fall into cynicism, to not look backwards, to not read one headline and believe that is the entire institution, but to actually stick together and to walk forward along this pathway that we're on.
Yes. So again, I encourage listeners to find Conversation with the President on your website. And in closing, your thoughts, as you were saying, headlines don't define us. And Tom Izzo, you said, had some remarks on resilience. Just leave the Spartan Nation with some thoughts.
Well, I heard his press conference. I think it was Russ earlier this week. I think it was earlier this week. And when I listened to his words, I could hear the voice of every Spartan kind of wondering, can we make it? Can we go ahead? And he was talking the question was about our men's football team. And I should say one of the most beautiful things of the last week is when our band, the members of our Spartan marching band, went over to visit with our men's football team. And they all said, we're in it together. And that to me is a great, great marker. And then Coach said about the same thing. And he said this, I thought, not just to our students, but we should all hear. And this is his quote, and I end with it. My message to everyone is stay the course. Stay the course, grasp arms, and stick together. And I think, no one says it better than Coach.
Well, President Woodruff, thank you so much for, again, sharing your insights and for your leadership through these trying times. And we'll look forward to talking again.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you, Russ.
That's Michigan State University Interim President Teresa K. Woodruff. She's joining me on MSU Today to elaborate on topics she covers in her September 2023 Spartan Community Letter. You can read that at president.msu.edu. And I'm Russ White. This is MSU Today.